Hey y'all, welcome back to Becoming Her number 2 with Yvette. I want to apologize for the setting. Normally I do this in the comfort of my home, but it's a lot of craziness going on in my house with my daughter. She's content creator and then they're doing some work in there. So I needed to find a place where I could hear myself. So anyway, let's jump into it. I wanted to talk to you about 5 things that I have adopted as I entered my grown woman phase, as I like to call it, my midlife. And so the first thing, and these are in no particular order, the first thing I wanted to share with you that I adopted was letting go of the people pleasing. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this. So people pleasing and me, we go together. We've been going together for a long time, right? But y'all, can I tell you, people pleasing was wearing me out. I felt like I had tire tracks all up and down my back because every time I turned around, somebody was asking me to do something. But it's nobody's fault in particular except mine, because I just didn't know how to say no. Every time somebody would ask me to do something, it didn't matter how full my calendar was, it didn't matter how tired I was, Yvette was gonna say yes. And what else do you want me to do? That was me. So there was that. And then if I can layer it with putting myself last all the time. I think it, just coming from the vantage point of being a single mother and a middle school counselor, I always felt like, and I believe it's because this was modeled for me from, early childhood. You always put the needs of your children and those that you were caring for above yours. You were the frame, the children were the picture. That's how I learned it growing up, and so that's what I did. And can I tell you, honestly, it got to a point where I started to feel like I was disappearing, like I could not, I didn't know where I began and other people started. It was just getting to be really ridiculous. So I decided that it was time to start making a change in that area. So little by little, I started to learn that I didn't have to always have a valid excuse to say no, because you know what? I learned that no is a complete sentence. So yes, I didn't feel guilty anymore. And I just started doing what I needed to do to bring some balance back into my life. Okay. The next thing I started to do was challenging myself to do things that made me uncomfortable. I started, sorry, the lighting in here is not great. I started, putting myself in situations that allowed me to operate outside of my comfort zone. And as someone who has been very shy and leaning more on the introvert side, that's always been really difficult for me. So I started with just making little changes, just little things every day, challenging myself to do something every day, something small that allowed me to operate outside of my comfort zone. And I'll give you an example of something that you would think would be easy, but for someone like me, it wasn't so easy. Just me going, let's say, to the grocery store, and I can't find what I need. I've always been the type of person that doesn't like to ask for help. So if I couldn't find something, I'm gonna go all around that store looking for it until I find it. But I started just deciding that I started just challenging myself to go ask somebody for help. Just ask. It's not going to take any years off my life. And so I decided, you know what? Let me go do that. And you know what I realized? It wasn't hard. It wasn't hard. And so I'm not saying that it's something that I'm completely comfortable with now. Putting myself out there to operate outside of my comfort zone. But I will tell you this, it's getting easier. Yes, I'm still a work in progress. And I'm still working on myself, but it's getting easier. What's the other thing? Oh, another thing that I did, and this is more on the physical side. I started doing something called intermittent fasting. And I found that I no longer had to focus so much on what I was eating, but I was able to lean more into when I was eating. Because with intermittent fasting, you're eating within a certain window of time. And so my time is, I think it's like a 16 hour window. So I'm sorry, I'm getting this mixed up. Let me just tell you. So I start eating at 10 a.m. I stop eating at 6, and then I'm fasting the rest of the time, which is easy because I'm sleeping. This was really challenging for me because I've always been someone who eats first thing in the morning, like almost 30 minutes after I'm up, I'm eating. So having to push that out a couple of hours, 2 to 3 hours after I got up, it was hard. Girl was hungry. But over time, I started training my body and it became easier. And I found that I wasn't really that hungry. And so I've noticed that I've lost inches and I just feel better. Now, I am not advocating, I am not telling you all that this is something that you should do. Definitely do your due diligence. I'm not a health professional. This is something that I decided that I wanted to try for myself, and it's been a game changer for me. And the last thing that I started doing, and this is also related to my health, actually 2 more things. I started walking after meals. And this again was born out of me trying to, and I'm going to get more into this in another video. This was born out of me trying to figure out how to regulate my blood sugar. And after talking to a health professional, I was told that it would also help with digestion, lowering my blood pressure, and lowering my risk for cardiovascular disease. And these are things that women my age are finding are becoming potential risks, right? So there was that. And then the other thing I wanted to talk to you about that is something that I'm working on is being more present. And it sounds simple on its face, right? But because of the fact that I am so easily distracted, it's been a challenge. But this is something that I've really been wanting to work on for some time. And so what I'm doing now is I've turned off my notifications, like in my work focus. I've turned off my notifications so I'm able to focus on what I'm doing during the day. When I am, and this is the one this is the part that's been really hard for me. When I'm talking to someone, I'm really leaning into what they're saying. I'm not so much focused on what I want to say, what I want to contribute, or what I want to ask. I'm really leaning in and I'm focusing on what they're saying. Now, the downside to that is if I had come up with a question I wanted to ask, it's probably gone. But I feel good about really providing, eye contact and just really leaning into what they're saying, because it makes the person feel heard. And I feel like that's so important, Anyway, those are the things that I started doing once I entered my grown woman phase. And so far, so good. And I'm probably going to pick up some more habits along the way. But these are things that are really working out for me thus far. So I want to hear what some habits that you all have adopted that have maybe either served to reduce your stress, or just help you evolve as a person. Yeah, so let me know in the comments some of the things that you've been doing. All right, that's it for now. Until next time, y'all continue leaning into the woman that you are becoming, and I'll see y'all next time. Love y'all. Peace.